Cześć i witam na moim kanale. In today's video we're going to be looking at Duolingo and doing an app review. Quite a few of you watched my link app review video, so I thought I'd do another app review, and which better app to do than to do the world's biggest language learning app currently on the market, which is Duolingo. I have already actually reviewed this app 5 years ago on this same channel, which is in the same playlist that you may be watching this video. If not, it's in the description below. That video is about 40 minutes long, so I don't want to make this one as long. Also, my opinions change with things all the time, and this is no exception. I haven't watched that video since I made it, but I do remember saying that I did like Duolingo back then. Not to say that I don't particularly like it now. Even now, my opinions change on whether I actually like Duolingo or whether I don't like Duolingo. To be honest, like, my overall opinion on it is that it helps a lot of people in whatever way, shape or form, and so I'm quite neutral with it, although I don't find it the most effective or useful app to use to learn a language. But in today's video, rather than spouting out how much I like or dislike about Duolingo, I thought I'd make a list of pros and cons, with them being some of the bigger issues that I've had with Duolingo and some things that I actually find Duolingo to be quite useful with. I'm sure most of you have used Duolingo. If you're watching this video, you're probably interested in language learning, and Duolingo is free, so most people have tried it out, and that's probably one of the reasons why it's the world's biggest language learning resource, or at least in terms of apps, because it is free. And that's my first point that I got here. I'll go through the pros first and I'll go through the cons second. Yeah, Duolingo is free, and so with that, obviously people are going to download it and use it, and you know that's a very big win for me. I love the fact that people can use free resources to learn a language or even learn any skill, but Duolingo, I've got to give them props for the fact that it is free, and it has been free the entire time that Duolingo's been a thing, and that's been for many, many years. I've had my account since like 2013, I think, and still here almost 10 years later, and it's been free the entire time. I've used the Duolingo Super or Plus, whatever you want to call it, a couple times. Never really found much use of it, but I'll talk about that later. But on the whole, I've not really paid anything for Duolingo, and I've used it a ton over the years. Not so much in recent years, but I still, when I first started out, used it a lot. So first pro right there, Duolingo, completely free. It does have ads, but ignore the ads. It's completely free. I wish more language learning apps were free. I know obviously they can't be because they have developers and whatever that you have to pay for. I would rather see an ad or two and not have to pay my own personal money that I have to work hard for than to actually, you know, pay that money. Some apps do it better than others. Some apps, like Rosetta Stone, for example, are ridiculously overpriced. And yeah, Duolingo, at least it's free. You don't lose out on anything as such, apart from maybe a little bit of time if you don't end up enjoying it. The next pro I want to talk about is the fact that it is fun. Maybe not for me personally. I find Duolingo fun for maybe 10 minutes and then it's like a little bit dead. But a lot of people find Duolingo fun, and that's something I can't discredit, and that's something that a lot of people just enjoy about Duolingo. And it sort of goes hand in hand with the fact that it's gamified, and again, that's sort of a con I'll talk about later as well. But the fact that it's fun keeps people engaged, it keeps people motivated, and so it keeps people coming back. It has that daily streak system, which is not something I personally like or think it's useful in terms of learning a language. So I have to give that a little bit of a con, but it does bring people back to use the app every day, and so they're engaging in the language that they want to learn every single day. So in a way, I can say that's a pro, because it does get people to come back to learn that language. The main point right now that I'm trying to make is that for the most part, a lot of people find Duolingo fun because of its easy nature and because of its just the way it's laid out and everything. And because of that, it keeps people coming back, which ultimately they're using it to learn their language, even if it's just a little bit. And so that's something to give them credit for. Again, the fact that the engagement is very high for the language learning app, whereas a lot of language learning apps, the engagement can be quite a lot lower because it's not as fun as, say, Duolingo, for example. The app is continually changing. 5 years ago, when I completed the Duolingo tree in Spanish, it was a completely different layout, as you'll see in my video if you can be bothered to go over to watch the review of Duolingo. But essentially, I completed the entire tree, translated into today, where I barely have used Duolingo since that video. I used it for a little bit longer after that video, and then I soon found out that I just lost a lot of motivation for the app. After the new update, I was roughly around unit 35 after completing the previous old tree on Duolingo. They've added so many more units here. So I've completed up to unit 40 because I just did a quick jump ahead where you complete like one lesson, you just jump ahead. If we were to go right to the bottom, I think there's 211 units. So if I wanted to try, I could jump here, but I don't think my Spanish is that good. I think Duolingo gets very complicated when you get down that low. But I just wanted to show you that when I completed the tree 5 years ago, it was about 35 units worth of information, and that took me a long time to complete, by the way. And now we have 211 units of information or lessons. That's at least in Spanish. Other languages are going to be different, obviously. Spanish is probably one of the more fine-tuned languages that they have on Duolingo. Other languages, not so much. We'll get into some of those maybe a little bit later on in this video, but for now, if we're looking at Spanish, 211 units for people to complete. And I guess just quickly with this one as well, the fact that they're making changes all the time, the fact that they recently changed the entire layout of their app or their website, when nobody really asked for it. Nobody asked for a layout change of the app. I don't really know any other language learning apps to completely change the style and the look of their app completely like how Duolingo has. Again, if you look at old videos of how Duolingo used to look to now, yeah, you'll see a massive difference in the way it was laid out. I don't know if I prefer this new layout, to be honest. Like, probably it'll take time to get used to. Again, there are a few things that I wish they would have included, which they had in the older ones. Overall, it's good to always change and adapt your product, and that's exactly what they've done here only a few months ago, I believe. Something else I've got to give props for with Duolingo is the amount of languages on offer. If we just have a look at the languages, you can see here, I'm not going to read them out, but you can see here the languages we have on offer. And it's not just the amount of languages on offer, it's also some of these more obscure languages we have on offer as well. I mean, who the hell wants to learn High Valerian? But they've got it on here. They also have like Hebrew, they have Irish, they also have Welsh and Scottish as well. You know, they have Hawaiian, which I'm currently using to learn some Hawaiian with, and Swahili as well. You know, there's some interesting languages on here for sure. I'm very happy they've included Zulu. They've got Xhosa, if that's how you say it. This one is actually still in beta, so it probably won't be released for another couple years, but you can see that this language is in development, basically. You know, they've got like Navajo, Klingon, just some really like interesting, obscure, out there languages which are 100% not on any other language learning app that I've ever seen. Again, I've got to give them props for the fact there's a decent selection of languages now to choose from, and also the fact that there are some really interesting, obscure ones. You won't find half of these languages on most of your typical language learning apps, you know, out there. So again, very good for the people who want to learn these more obscure languages. And for those of you who are using Duolingo to learn a language with a different script like Japanese or Russian or Hebrew or Arabic or whatever the language may be, Duolingo has this system now where you can go on the characters and then learn the hiragana. In Japanese, this is learn the hiragana, and you can go through and learn the hiragana. You can learn the katakana. You're going through and learning the alphabets or the characters here in Japanese, which I think is just amazing. It'd be even cooler if they were able to do the characters for the kanji in Japanese, but obviously I know that would just be thousands and thousands of characters long, and that probably takes a lot of time to develop and everything. But it'd be the next step, right? They've got the hiragana and katakana, so you can look at this and go, okay, this is the sound that they make. You see this and you understand the basics, at least, of Japanese, and if we were to go into another language with different characters, you'll see the same thing. Hindi, Arabic, Russian, they all have this same thing with learning the alphabets. And honestly, I use Duolingo to learn the alphabets if I need to over any other app, because if I want to specifically learn the writing system, Duolingo just has it here, easy, laid out for me to learn. So I've learned a couple characters in Russian, for example, just from messing around on Duolingo. And yeah, I mean, I've got nothing to complain about. It's so simple and so easy. It's very repetitive. Yeah, I mean, what else can I say about it? I wish more apps would just apply something so simple when it comes to learning something as simple as the alphabet. Duolingo seems to be one of the only ones that really do it in this way, in a way that's easy to digest. Also, another thing with Duolingo is that they don't go too mad on the grammar. Grammar is something that I feel like when most people start a language, most languages are actually quite difficult with the grammar. And so when you start and you're a beginner in a language, you don't need to look at grammar like really in depth, because what it's going to do is you're going to be overwhelmed by the amount of grammar, and then you're going to just be put off by learning this language. By not focusing on grammar, it's something I feel like is just a step in the right direction when it comes to learning a language. What Duolingo does do is give you little bits and bobs of grammar here and there, little hints, just so you can like help you get along, help you get through the next unit. We look at Unit 5 guidebook, for example. It gives you a couple of example sentences in Japanese. You come down here, then it will tell you. In English, we'd say, I'm not a student. But to say that you're not something in Japanese, you change the verb des to dera arimasen, and then you've got the little table down here which will give you a couple of examples. Chugokujin desu and then Chugokujin deara arimasen. It's simplified grammar laid out for you, just enough to get you through the next course that you have coming up. And yeah, I mean, it's not too overwhelming, and I really enjoy this. They don't go mad over it, they just give you what you need, and you'll probably end up forgetting this anyway, but then you'll start seeing these sentences and then you may remember the little simplified grammar that they taught you. Down here again, it's just got a tip asking questions. Basically it says you add ka at the end of a sentence to make it into a question. It's like a spoken question mark, and it's just simplified information like this, which probably you need to be told, but again, you don't need like these massive text and dialogues or whatever to tell you this is the rule and this is the exception and this is all of the other things that you need to know, and it's going to take you about 6 hours to read through everything and comprehend whatever you're trying to read. It's not like that at all. It's quite simplified, and it just gives you some example sentences again here of the same sentence but with ka at the end to then give you the question as opposed to the original statement. And so grammar isn't overly complicated here on Duolingo. Depending on who you are, maybe that's a good thing, maybe it's a bad thing. I personally think that grammar isn't something that you should really focus on unless you're like quite advanced in the language, and at that point you don't want to use Duolingo anyway. You want to use like a grammar book or something external to actually start learning your grammar properly and really concreting like certain grammar points. But when you're a beginner or even intermediate and you're trying to just learn the language, forget about the grammar, just learn the language. Just see it written down enough times and you'll understand eventually sentence patterns and that kind of thing. And yeah, it's just the best way and most efficient way, in my opinion, to learn a language. With that being said, I feel like that's all the pros that I could think of at the top of my head. If there are any other pros that you have that I haven't mentioned so far, make sure to go down in the comment section below and put them there, because I'd be interested to see what you guys feel are pros on Duolingo. And while you're there, you might as well put some cons as well if you have any cons about Duolingo as well, as I'm about to go over a few here now on Duolingo. You won't see it on this system here because I'm on the desktop. On the mobile app version, there is something called Hearts. I'll call it the Heart system. And I mentioned this in my old video from 2017. I specifically remember mentioning this. The Heart system in Duolingo is so off-putting to any language learner. Like, I can't believe it's something they have in there, but I know why they've got it in there. Basically, you have 5 hearts, and it's like a game. If you get things wrong, you lose a heart, and if you lose all your hearts, you have to wait 12 hours to get a new one, or some amount of time anyway to get a new heart. You could watch an advert to get a new heart. You could do some revision, I think, to get a new heart as well. But if you have no hearts, you cannot start a new lesson, and so you can't continue to learn. The reason they do this is because they want you to pay money to their app to do Duolingo Super Plus, whatever they called it. The heart system, terrible in my opinion, puts people off. I will say, however, if you're on the desktop like I am right here, you have no heart system to worry about. You can get it wrong as many times as you like. I don't know why there's a differentiation between desktop and mobile app, but there is. The mobile app has a few different features, and one of them is the fact that you have hearts which you lose if you get things wrong. Very bad in my opinion, very bad for motivation, and that's one of the things I genuinely despised about Duolingo when I was using it before. Something else which I think most people know about Duolingo, but the fact that it has the most stupid sentences that it teaches you. My biggest issue with this is the fact that the sentences it teaches you aren't real sentences that you would ever use in real life. They talk about animals being personified and doing things they never would do, and some people try to justify it by saying that it's so wacky that you remember the grammar and you remember the word so well, and then when you come to record it in sentences, it's like, you know, really easy to recall. Absolute nonsense. The fact that it teaches you really stupid sentences, in my opinion, is like one of the biggest downfalls of Duolingo. If Duolingo was the exact same as it is now, heart system and everything, but it taught you real sentences, like things that you'd actually use in real life, conversational sentences, etc., Duolingo would probably be one of the best language learning apps in my opinion out there. But the fact that it teaches you absolute nonsense, it really brings this app down. I just can't think of something worse than try and learn a language and you're learning absolute nonsense that you'll never use, sentences that you'll never use, and instead of going around and trying to speak the language you're trying to learn and being able to say certain things that you want to say, probably in your head you're going to have, oh, this stupid Duolingo sentence that makes no sense outside of Duolingo. So, you know, don't try and internalize Duolingo sentences too much, because I feel like they teach you rubbish, and this rubbish is just, it takes that time. It takes you time to learn this rubbish, and then it takes time to almost unlearn this rubbish, which is one of my biggest issues with Duolingo, and it has been ever since I've used Duolingo. So yeah, that one is something that I wish they just would change. I know the sentences at the moment are apparently auto-generated by like a bot or the algorithm or whatever, but put some effort into your app, guys, and actually change these stupid sentences into stuff that we want to learn, you know. It's marketed as the world's best way to learn a language. 100% wrong. You can't say that. You can't give a positive lie, because like Duolingo isn't the world's best way to learn a language, and like most people would agree with that. Like, it's not the world's best way to learn a language. It's the world's best way to learn nonsense in a language. Sure. If we look over here on this blog, can Duolingo make me fluent? And other blah blah blah. We go down here, can Duolingo make me fluent? Research shows that Duolingo is an effective way to learn a language. I wouldn't even necessarily say that. Again, it's not effective because you don't teach effective language. You don't teach actual real language. And I can't even be bothered to read the rest of this article, but it's just that line there. Research shows that Duolingo is an effective way to learn a language. Show me this research, because I guarantee when Duolingo say that research shows, there's been no research to show anything. It's just Duolingo people just making up BS in order to try and sell their app. So can Duolingo make me fluent? Absolutely not. And no app can, but Duolingo 100% cannot make me or anyone else fluent. Spoke about a minute ago, I might as well quickly go over it now. The Duolingo Super Plus, whatever it's called, the paid version. This is how much it is. £5 a month for Super, $7.50 for Super Family. All you get is learning content. I feel like you do that with the free version, don't you? Unlimited hearts. So here's what I was talking about. If you use the desktop version, you basically have unlimited hearts anyway. So that's two things that you're paying for that you already have. Personalized practice. Maybe that's a plus. I can't really argue with that. If it's going to be personalized and it's things you get wrong and you want to get it right, sure, I'll give you that one. But again, with the things you learn on Duolingo, probably not the most useful anyway. But we'll continue. No ads. The ads are a little bit annoying, but they're not like that bad at the end of the day. Like, you put up with them. And again, on the desktop version, which I'm on right now, you don't get ads. Like, there's just no ads. There are probably a pop-up here or there on the side, but they don't get in the way. They're not like 30-second video ads like you get on YouTube, for example. You just get, basically, the ad is the ad for Duolingo Super. £5 a month to get basically personalized practice. And that is it. You probably get some like costumes for Duolingo and stuff, but really stupid stuff that like nothing to do with actually learning the language. If you're going to ever use Duolingo, please don't even bother wasting your time or money on the Duolingo Super Plus thing, because you can see right here, not worth it in my opinion. Obviously, if you wanted unlimited hearts on the mobile version, then sure, it maybe is a bit more of a plus, but still £5 a month is £5 a month. Let's have another look at these languages that we have on offer. Some of them are quite well developed. Spanish and French and German, for example, like your obvious languages which most of the language learning apps have anyway. Some of these are developed really well and they have audio for them and they have like a decent amount of lessons. There's a few languages on here that I've used over time and I've realised some of them are really poorly developed. One time I tried to do a little speed run here on YouTube for a video that never got released because my computer ended up crashing and so I couldn't actually make the episode in the end. But I basically messed around with Welsh for a bit because I was really interested in learning Welsh, and I did a couple lessons on there. And like only about, I would say 50% or 60% of the words and the phrases were actually spoken with like an audio thing that you can click on, and then the rest of them just didn't have audio that you could actually listen to stuff. It just, you click the thing and it just wouldn't work. Within the first like unit, there were words and sentences which I couldn't listen to, so I couldn't understand how things were said. I couldn't hear the audio because the audio didn't exist here on Duolingo. I know Welsh isn't the only language with this. I would assume languages like Irish and Scottish, not that great when it comes to the audio. Sure, your more popular languages up here, audio probably is all good, but the more obscure languages, audio is really terrible and they don't have audio for everything. And that's something that I've heard a lot of people talk about in regards to those more obscure languages. Gamification and the daily streak. Just very quickly, I want to talk about this because I've already spoken about the gamification, but my issue with this is that people come every single day on the daily streak in order to complete the daily streak and to basically do just that. Do their 5 minutes, do their one lesson, whatever it is. That's their day done for the day. The focus is not on learning the language. The focus is on keeping that number growing and growing. And because of this, I'm not a fan of daily streaks in general on any language learning app that I use. But with Duolingo being so popular, everyone talking about it, everyone always uses the daily streak as a thing of, oh, look at me and look how good I'm doing in my language. I'm doing really well in my Spanish at the moment because I'm on like a 600-day streak. And in almost all cases, this daily streak means nothing more than your rushed attempt to, sneak off for 5 minutes doing the Duolingo on your phone and then coming back to whatever you're doing a few minutes afterwards. Whether it be you at a party and you're sneaking off to the toilet quickly to do your Duolingo, or whether it be you with your friends doing something, or whatever the case may be, whatever you're doing that day and you forget to do your Duolingo and it's like, oh, it's 11 p.m. Oh, I haven't done my Duolingo daily streak. Oh no. And you have to rush and get that done. And I know what it's like because I've done it myself. I've done like a 120-day streak or something. I don't know exactly, but I did over a 100-day streak when I did my review 5 years ago. I was midway that 100-day streak. I know what it's like even for that 100 days. I would forget to do it some days and I'd really have to rush. I'd be at work all day long and I'd come home and I really didn't want to do it, but I forced myself to do it. And I know what it's like. You don't learn anything from that. All you're doing is keeping that number up, and maybe it helps your motivation if you set that number up, because when you lose that big number, motivation may crash. But ultimately, your daily streak means nothing, and I feel like more people need to understand that the daily streak is not the most important thing, and the most important thing is to actually understand the language and try and learn it day to day. I'm in a Spanish learning group on Facebook, and so many times I'll see people posting photos like this where it's like, translate the sentence, and they'll put the right answer and they'll press submit and the app will say it got it wrong. The app has a lot of glitches, and this is one of them where it say that you've got the wrong answer when you have the right answer. Glitchy, you can never tell when you're going to be right, when you're going to be wrong with this many glitches. I see this kind of thing all the time on Duolingo. Sometimes it's like a meme or whatever, but it's seriously like a big glitch in the app, or it's a big like issue, I guess, with the app is that even though the app has a lot of other things going for it, the fact that it's glitchy and like maybe you'll lose a heart because the app is glitchy, and even though you put the right translation, we're still going to mark you wrong anyway. And the last thing I could think of with just coming on Duolingo and trying to prepare this video, they used to have this section on the side here, books, and you could go and read your story, and reading the stories was simple and easy, and they really helped me in my Japanese, just getting some comprehensible input in my Japanese because they were simple stories, and you would unlock more stories by doing the main quest here on Duolingo, the main tree, as you will. Now, that's not there anymore. Instead, it's here as a separate thing in every single unit, and so if you want to do reading, you have to complete the units, and then you do the book, and then you complete it. But I liked just going on Duolingo to read the books without having to worry about doing the actual units. They've completely changed up the way that the reading is done, and I don't like it. I preferred it before when you could just do the reading yourself, you read through it, and then maybe you answer some questions or whatever the case may be. But yeah, you just have like a different layout, and I don't like it. And you can only do like that one lesson of reading per unit. So then, to do the next reading, I have to go through the rest of this unit, go to unit 40, start this, and then go down to this next book here. Whereas before, all you had to do, I had like 50 books unlocked in my Spanish ready to read, and I never got around to them because they updated the app and I couldn't do it anymore. And the one thing I thought was really good about Duolingo, and they took it away, obviously as well with the scripts, I really like the alphabet thing that they do as well, and the way they teach you with that. So please don't take that away, Duolingo. That I also find like a massive disappointment that they would remove something that was so valuable. That is, I believe, all of the pros and cons I have for Duolingo. I wanted to do it in this way because I wanted to talk a little bit more about why I didn't like the app, as opposed to just saying I don't like it. But there were also pros as well, things and features that I do actually like about Duolingo, but I feel like there's a lot of improvement to go before Duolingo can be considered an app that I enjoy, or even an app that I would have in my day-to-day usage, because right now there are just other apps that I find way more effective for my actual language learning, which is the main point. The whole reason why people want to go on Duolingo is to learn a language, and I feel like after a while it goes from learning a language into playing this game where language is just a part of it, but the main thing is coming back every day to please the owl to do your daily streak. Duolingo has a lot to improve upon. I use it time to time, but realistically it's not something I ever really expect much from nowadays, especially nowadays after using it for so long and knowing where my knowledge is on different languages that I've used it on. So that's everything. Like I mentioned earlier, if you have any other pros and cons or anything else you'd like to add into this video, let me know down in the comment section below. I'd be interested to see how you guys find this video, what you guys think in regards to pros and cons of Duolingo in your personal point of view. I'd be interested to see what languages you learn on Duolingo, if you use Duolingo at all, that is. Let me know if there's anything in this video that you disagreed with. That would be an interesting one. And yeah, anything else you'd like to put down in the comment section below, I'd be happy to read all your comments and reply to them all as well. If you've got any suggestions for future videos, let me know as well. But with all that out of the way, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video for another language learning related video.